Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Today is October 4th. The Wildcard series has been played out. We got to review those and talk about the division series. Let's do it. Hello, everybody. My name is Steven. This is the middle of the order. How are we doing? Today, it is Friday. Unfortunately, there's no baseball today to watch, but we got plenty to talk about, and I'm excited to talking about, finally, postseason baseball. It's here, and this week was great, man. The 4 series, the 9 games, 2, 4, 6, 8. Who do we appreciate? Baseball is what we appreciate. I loved it. I watched as much as I could, all the games essentially. Great baseball to be had. Great moments. Edge of my seat for a lot of games. I was very enticed. The product was great. There's so many positives to take away from the week here, and it only sets up even more positives having our division, our top 2 teams on the AL and NL get into the postseason mix. They're playing some baseball now. So with that all being said, we are going to do a series review here quickly. Just for the Mets and Brewers, we're going to talk about the last 2 games of the regular series, what that meant, and then we'll jump into the wild card. Let's dive on in with our Mets and Braves series. Okay, so 2 games, 3 teams at stake, 2 spots at stake. The Mets and Braves played a doubleheader on Monday, the final 2 games of the 2024 regular season. And let me tell you, this first game was the game of the year. We had 2 home runs from the Atlanta Braves. Ozzie Albies, Ramon Laureano, that got the Braves out. Those home runs were a big part of this game. Spencer Schwellenbach was a huge part of this game. He pitched an absolute gem. He went out there for the 8th inning, gave up a hit, and Brian Snitker said no more for him. They went to the bullpen, and that was the mistake. The Mets attacked. Back-to-back doubles, followed by 2 singles and a sac fly. That turned this game around on their heels. The exclamation point being Brandon Nimmo. He hit a 2-run home run to complete a 6-run inning from the Mets. A complete turnaround from down 3 to up 3. The Mets led, but here comes the Braves in the bottom of the 8th. The bases are loaded. It's 2 outs. It's Edwin Diaz versus Ozzie Albies from the right-hand side of the plate, and he crushes a ball off the left field wall. 1 run scores. 2 runs score. The Braves have the lead. All 3 runs score. But then in the 9th inning, with a runner on, it's Francisco Lindor. A swing, a drive, goodbye, a 2-run go-ahead home run, Francisco Lindor. And Mets fans, bottom of the 9th, Edwin Diaz comes back out into the 9th, and this time though, sigh of relief, he finishes the job. An absolute astonishing game in the last 2 innings here. Like I said, potentially the game of the year. The Mets win this one. It's a wild one. And guess what? They punch a ticket into the postseason. They don't know if it's the 5 seed. They don't know if it's the 6 seed because we have a second game to play. The Braves need a win, and Chris Sale gets scratched. But I'm not sure if that mattered for this game specifically because Grant Holmes was fantastic. He struck out 7 Mets in 4 innings. Were the Mets really trying that much is the question. Gio Urshela hits an RBI single in the 2nd. Marcell Ozuna a 2-run single in the 7th. And those 3 runs were enough. The Braves win it. They get the 5 seed. The Mets end up with the 6th. And the D-backs, well, they were watching from home and that's where they're staying. So, really unfortunate for the D-backs. They had a great team. I would have loved to see them in the postseason, but unfortunately the cards just didn't work out that way. Tough for Arizona fans, but I'm sure they'll be back. The team is great, and with some more improvements and some additions in the offseason, they are going to still be a top team in the NL. Hopefully a full season of a good Corbin Carroll instead of a 2-month season from him, but Yeah, D-backs fans, it hurts, especially when it's kind of out of your hands in a way. I don't want to say it wasn't in their control, because you go pick any loss that they had this season and turn that into a win, and they're not in the situation. It's the games they played that put them in that hole, and obviously the hurricane that caused the doubleheader on Monday. So obviously that part was out of their control. But regardless, even if those games had been played out, you're still talking about going into the last day of the season where you need to win. And need them one to win and one to lose, and it just doesn't work out that way, unfortunately, for the D-backs. So they will be without October baseball, but yeah, they'll hopefully be back next season. Just to talk about some other news here really quickly before we actually start talking about those wildcard series, I want to talk about some of the rosters that may or may not be playing, I guess. The Royals, I talked about Vinny Pasquantino. He is healthy, and he did make the wild card roster for the Royals. Now, going back to the Braves now, we didn't know for sure if they were in the playoffs or not. In the second game, they were supposed to start Chris Sale, being that Chris Sale was their ace, and it was a must-win game. You want your guy out there. Not only was he scratched, he was also left off the wild card roster. So, it's interesting it's going to be interesting to see if the Braves move on, if he would be playing or not. But he is not healthy enough to be in any of those 3 games this week. That week was. And then for the Astros, what's very interesting is they kept their veteran, their guy, Justin Verlander, off the wild card roster. Of course, he's been struggling mightily this season, and they think they had better chances without him than with him. We'll see if that mattered at all. So with those all being said, let's start talking about these wild card series. Let's start with the Detroit Tigers and the Houston Astros. Phenomenal series, and let me tell you, the Tigers, man, good God. Game 1, it's Skubal versus Framber Valdez, and the Tigers get to Valdez early in this one. In the second inning, all 3 of their runs in this game were scored in that inning, and Tarek Skubal, man, he is dominant. The most likely AL Cy Young winner at some point. He shuts down the Astros. However, things got dicey in the end of this one. The Astros got their only run. The bases were loaded with 2 outs and a chance to break it open, potentially walk it off. Jason Hayward up. He absolutely smokes the baseball. However, it ends up right in the glove of Spencer Torkelson at first base. It's the lineout that ends the game. The Tigers win it 3-1, your final there. A great start from Skubal. Framber pitched well as well, but in the end, you outdueled. You gave up the 3 runs early, and it was the Tigers bullpen, man. I'm telling you, it's a bunch of just fun guys that you've probably never heard of, but together, man, they just look great. Which brings us to Game 2. Can the Astros, who are on the verge of missing not only an ALCS, they've been in every single ALCS since 2017, but also not winning a single game in the postseason, can the Tigers do it? They're starting Tyler Holton for some Tiger craziness bullpen day, and the Astros are going with Hunter Brown. This game gets started. Parker Meadows opens the scoring in the 6th, a solo shot home run, but the Astros came back in the 7th. They scored 2 runs on a fielder's choice and a sac fly. The Tigers, they used 7 pitchers in this game, and in the 8th inning, the Tigers would rally. Haters in the game trying to save things for the Astros. Bases are loaded, 2 outs, and the Tigers turn to their bench to call upon Andy Ibanez. A great battle, and it ends with him sending one down the line. It's a bases clearing double. He ends up at third base, and the Tigers have the lead. The Astros down to 6 outs to play. They head to the 9th now, bottom of the 9th. It's the last chance. Will Vest locks it up. The Tigers not only beat the Astros, they sweep them in the wild card round. Many teams have tried to beat the Astros. Some have succeeded, most have failed. It's the first time since the Blue Jays and Guardians, or Indians at the time, in 2016 that the Astros will not appear in the ALCS. The Tigers' magic rolls on into Cleveland. What a series and what a team the Tigers are showing up to be. They have been the best team for the last couple of months now. And by last couple of months, I mean last couple of weeks, really, since the start of August, when their playoff odds were 0.2%. And here we are in October talking about these Tigers beating the Houston Astros and are now in the ALDS. An absolute crazy run. And I want to highlight their bullpen, man. I want to highlight these pitchers because A.J. Hinch is doing something that we haven't really seen before, and it could be coming kind of the next wave, the next phenomenon of this outstanding stuff here. Tarek Skubal was dominant as he needs to be, 6 innings strong. And let's talk about this bullpen because I got guys here. Will Vest, 2 2/3. That's 8 outs. He had 5 strikeouts. And guess what? He didn't give up a hit. Tyler Holton, the guy who started the second game, he went an inning and a third. He got 4 outs, 1 strikeout, didn't give up a hit. Bo Brisky, I'm going to say that's how it was pronounced. I didn't actually hear the broadcast. 2 1/3. That's 7 outs recorded. He got a strikeout, 2 walks, but guess what? No hits. Sean Gunther, again, sorry for the pronunciation. He got an inning and inning and 2/3. That's 5 outs in total. Didn't strike out anybody, but guess what? Didn't give up a hit. Like, you take away Tarek Skubal's 4 hits. I mean, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys here that combined to give up 3 hits. This obviously is discluding the 2 guys that struggled in the back end of the games in Game 1 and Game 2. Jason Foley in Game 1, he was the guy who started to come out in the 9th inning before the Astros started their rally. He gave up 3 hits and the 1 earned run before they switched it over to somebody else to get the save there. They went over to Bo. And then Jackson Jobe, the young kid, he came into this game into the 7th inning trying to help it out in the Game 2. And he struggled mightily, gave up the 2 earned runs to give the Astros the lead. The blown save and an opportunity there for the Astros to force a Game 3. But his bullpen, his team had their backs, and that's what matters the most here. And I mean, the hitters as well. I mean, like the Tigers, it wasn't like any offensive crazy numbers. Parker Meadows, the 1 home run. But together they looked good. Andy Ibanez, he had 2 hits, 2 doubles. One of them was the bases clearing that sent them over. Justin Henry Malloy, he had a couple of hits in the series as well. Overall, I'd say most of the Tigers were doing really well. Jake Rogers was 3 for 8. Parker Meadows, 2 for 9 with the home run. Wenzel Perez, 2 for 5. Of course, he only played 1 of the games. And then Kerry Carpenter as well. He's their best hitter, and he was used in pinch hit opportunities and started one of the games. He had a tough series. Riley Green had a tough series. Torkelson. But as I'm saying, you have one guy go down, the other 4 or 5 guys step up. That's what the pitching's been doing. That's what the hitters also do. AJ Hinch and this groupie bunch of Tigers here, they're going to be a tough team to face. If I was Cleveland, I would be a little worried. They kind of just get up on you. And yeah, I'm interested to see what the Tigers are going to roll out here for their craziness in the ALDS here. I'm sure the pitchers are being told and they're making strategies and plans for Game 1, Game 2. I'm sure we'll see Tarek Skubal in either Game 2 or Game 3, but we'll talk about that shortly. But yeah, Tigers, man, what a series, what a job done by them. Moving on, we are going to talk about the Royals and the Orioles, so let's get into that here. Game 1, Cole Reagans versus Corbin Burns, an absolute star performance from both Cole Reagans and Corbin Burns. The pitching in this game was phenomenal. Riggins strikes out 8 batters through 6. Corbin Burns, he ends up going out there for the ninth inning. He went 8 innings, and it was just the lone run in this one he gave up to Bobby Witt Jr., an RBI single for him in the 6th, and that was the difference. Baltimore's offense just wasn't there. 1-0 Royals, they take it. They head to Game 2 looking to sweep. It's Seth Lugo versus Zach Eflin. Vinny Pasquantino delivers in the first to get the Royals up by 1. And the O's again in this one just looked defeated. The offense just wasn't there until the 5th inning. It's Cedric Mullins. He hits a home run to tie the game. But that didn't last long because in the 6th inning, it was once again Bobby Witt Jr. with the RBI single. That puts KC back up. Their bullpen does the rest, and Kansas City sweeps the Baltimore Orioles, and they have a dance now with the New York Yankees. What a series. Baltimore, let's talk about them first here because this is, it's not enough anymore. They have lost the last 10 postseason games in their history. Of course, they got swept by the Rangers last season. They lost a wild card game in 2016 to the Blue Jays. And it goes on even more before that. And then they're getting swept by the Royals. And this is a team that, you know, the fans have waited for so long to have a good winning team. And that's what they have, a good winning team. And it just wasn't there this season, unfortunately, in this series. And that's kind of the problem with the O's now, is that it's not enough to make the postseason with 90-plus wins and lose it. Now the fans are hungry for more. And, you know, it's still a young team. It's still a young core. We said that about them last year. You know, you had a very successful Baltimore team, but just with young kids, you know, rookie year for Gunnar, rookie year for all these other guys. And again, same thing here. You know, Gunnar second year, Adley Rutschman's third year, I believe. Colton Cowser rookie. You know, Westbrook rookie. Like it's full of just guys who, you know, are in their first, second, third years in the big leagues. But you know, sooner or later you get down to the guys being in their fourth, fifth, sixth years in the big leagues. And if you still haven't done anything, you know, not even win a game, you know, the fans have the right to be a little unhappy, and especially because of the way that their guys played this series. It was tough. Gunnar Henderson was 0 for 7 with 4 strikeouts. Anthony Santander, 1 for 8. Adley Rutschman, 1 for 8. Colton Cowser, 1 for 7. Westberg, 1 for 7. You know, it was really tough to see. Outside of Cedric Mullins, he was 3 for 7, had a double, had a home run. He was kind of the only offensive player. You know, Ramon Urias was the only other player that had more than 1 hit in this series. And you know, that's not really a recipe for winning games if you don't have offense. You know, that first game, Corbin Burns put he put everything on the line for the game and for the team here, and just got kind of dejected. He pitched 8 innings, 5 hits, you know, only the 1 earned run, and just the offense couldn't get him that 1 run back. He gets the loss because of it. So, I mean, just really unfortunate for Baltimore in this series here. But that also goes to show you what Kansas City's done. And, you know, the Royals have been a special team this season. They have Will Smith, who's looking for his 4th straight World Series win with 4 different teams. So, I mean, there's stuff there for the Royals that I'm very questionable about, that I'm worried about for their next series, the Yankees here. Because, yeah, you know, Bobby Witt Jr. is the star, right? He's the MVP. He drove in the game-winning runs in both games, and that's what your stars do. You know, he's 3 for 9, the 2 RBIs. That's what matters. That's what counts. Good for him. Michael Massey had a good series. He was 3 for 8. Vinny Pasquantino, 2 for 7, had that RBI. He had a good series. But you go down the list as well of the Royals players. You know, Salvador Perez, 2 for 8, sure. Yuli Gurriel, 1 for 7. MJ Melendez, 1 for 7. Hunter Renfroe, 0 for 3. Tommy Pham, 0 for 4. So you have to start wondering as well. We talked about these Royals on Monday. You know, they had 2 7-game losing streaks in the span of the month, really. And the offense really hasn't been there. We saw that in the Braves series to end the season. They just haven't been scoring a lot of runs. There hasn't been that kind of potent punch that we've seen from the Royals before in the season. So the offense is worrying me big time with Kansas City. And, you know, you have the Yankees, who are going to be hungry, who are going to have Aaron Judge and Juan Soto and Giancarlo Stanton and Jazz Chisholm, and the list goes on. So, I mean, you're heading to Yankee Stadium, short wall over there, out in there in right field. Hopefully the Royals can figure out some offense because, I mean, what they did against Baltimore, thankfully, was enough because their pitching was just as good as Baltimore's and their offense was just as better. But against the Yankees, if the offense stays flat like this, we're looking at a 3-game sweep for the Yankees. We're looking at a tough wall to climb if you're Kansas City. The offense needs to be there. Of course, we'll talk about this more in the division series preview, but to wrap it up, I mean, the Royals did enough. They looked good. The pitching was stellar. Let's be honest, the pitching was phenomenal. Bullpen worked well, and the starters were great. Cole Reagan, Seth Lugo, absolutely great performances there. Lucas Erceg, he's going to go down probably as the sneakiest trade deadline win this season. He's been great in the Royals' back end there. He pitched 2 1/3 innings in this series, picked up both saves, the only pitcher to save both games. Struck out 3. He was great. Sam Long, he pitched an inning in 2/3, didn't give up a hit. John Schreiber pitched an inning, no hits. Angel Zerpa, an inning, no hits. So, I mean, top to bottom, I mean, the bullpen combined only gave up 2 hits, and that was both from Chris Bubich, and he was still very dominant in his outing. So, I mean, Royals bullpen looks good. The pitching, I have no worries about, but in a game against, the Yankees, the offense needs to be there because eventually their pitching will get attacked by the Yankees team. But the Royals take it, they win it, moving on. All right, next up, Mets and Brewers, and this was a great series. Again, great ball games. Like, just want to shout out these wild card games here. You look through them all, the 9 games that were played, 7 of which were 3 or less run games, 1-run games, 2-run games, and the 2 of those that weren't 3 or less run games, they were 4-run games. So they were still, pretty close. A bloop and a blast kind of brings you back into things. Very special wild card games for sure. So let's get started. Mets and Brewers, Luis Severino and Freddie Peralta. To the first game we go here. The Brewers strike first in this one, 2 runs in the first inning. Jesse Winker, though, later on for the Mets, he had a 2-run triple to tie the game up, and there was some chirping, some words between him and Willie Adames. Later on in the inning, sac fly, Mets lead it 3-2. Brewers get back in the 4th, RBIs from Jackson Chourio and William Contreras. The big inning, however, came in the top of the 5th for the Mets. They drive in 5 runs with 3 singles, scoring 1 run, 2 runs, and 2 runs, and that would lead it. The Mets would hold on from there. They win it 8-4. Game 2, it's Sean Manaea and Frankie Montas. Can the Mets sweep as well? They want to get this game. They want to make a statement early, and it's Nimmo with that RBI single in the first. A good start from the Mets. But how about the 20-year-old rookie, the kid, Jackson Chourio, right there, leadoff home run, gets the Brewers right back into it and gets the crowd ecstatic. But the Mets respond in par as well. They score 2 in the second, thanks to some Francisco work. Francisco Alvarez, an RBI single, Francisco Lindor, a sac fly, and the Mets lead it. The Brewers would get another run in the bottom of the 5th. It's a sac fly to make it a 1-run game. Thank you, Blake Perkins. And then in the bottom of the 8th, they're down. They're getting close to their final couple outs. But how about Jackson Chourio? Once again, his 2nd home run of the game ties it up at 3. And they weren't done there because with a runner on, it's Garrett, MF, and Mitchell who ropes a pinch hit, go-ahead 2-run home run. That gets the Brewers the lead. The airbender, Devin Williams, comes in, shuts it down to get the save. The Brewers live to play one more game. So, a game 3 is upon us. Jose Quintana, Tobias Myers, let's play ball. It's a well-pitched game by both teams in this one. The pitchers were great. We had goose eggs for the first 6 innings, but in the 7th, once those starters' pitchings were gone, that's where things changed. The Mets go to their bullpen for Budo, and he changed this game completely, giving up back-to-back home runs on back-to-back pitches. Pinch hitter Jake Bauers gets the Brewers the first run of the game in the 7th, and then Sal Frelick right there, an absolute moonshot down the line. Brewers are looking strong. The Mets couldn't get anything done offensively, which brings us to the 9th inning. The Mets down to their final 3 outs. Devin Williams on the mound. He walks Lindor. He strikes out Mark Vientos. And then Brandon Nimmo, a hard hit single up the middle. You got runners at the corners with 1 out for Pete Alonso. In the inning prior, he missed a catch in foul territory. Would that have been the moment that the Mets fans would remember about Pete Alonso? It's his potential last at-bat as a Met. What can he do? He crushes a pitch. Right field. Back goes Frelick. Gone. A 3-run clutch home run by Pete Alonso. It's what he does. He brings the Mets back to life. A few batters later, just for some insurance, Marte, an RBI single. Here comes David Peterson, a Mets starter, who gets the call to get the last 3 outs for the Brewers. It's a leadoff single. Can the Brewers come back, strike out? A home run would get them the tie game. But he doubles it off, hits it right to Lindor, steps on the bag, throw to first, and the Mets beat the Brewers. They punched their ticket to the NLDS. Outstanding baseball in this series. Man, Brewers, man, what happened? You guys had it. Oh my God. You cannot take the Brewers out of themselves here. That happened with Josh Hader in 2019. It happens with Devin Williams. The Brewers just can't find a way to do it. And if you're paying attention to history, every team that's beaten the Brewers in the postseason in the NL goes on to make the World Series. Does that mean that the Mets are going to do it? Are they going to head to the World Series? Or will history finally break its dreaded curse? I mean, a great series, great baseball, amazing moments for both teams. The Sal Frelick and the Jake Bauers back-to-back home runs. Jackson Chourio, the 20-year-old rookie, hitting 2 home runs in Game 2. Garrett Mitchell to win that game with his pinch hit 2-run home run. Pitching was great, outside of obviously certain individuals. But I mean, when you look at the highlights of these pitchers, great stuff overall. Brewers bullpen looked good up until Devin Williams' tough inning in the second game. Of course, the first game he looked really great. It was good in Game 2, but in Game 3 just couldn't put it away. Freddie Peralta came out of the bullpen in Game 2 and had a tough stuff there. Tobias Myers, 5 innings strong, good stuff there. Frankie Montas, 3 2/3. Aaron Savali, 3 innings of work. So pitching was well by the Brewers. Some guys were there for the key offense, but in the end, it falls the Mets' way. Sean Manaea, he looked good. Jose Quintana and his start looked great. And then Edwin Diaz kind of did his thing, an inning and 2/3, 3 strikeouts there. Offense was well enough. Pete Alonso, man, what a moment. And the Mets magic continues. I mean, what's up with these 6 seed teams in the playoffs these days? It just seems like it's always them. The Tigers in the AL, Mets in the NL. You go back to last postseason, the Diamondbacks were the 6th seed. They beat the Brewers in the Wildcard series. Look where they ended up. Are the Mets on the same track? We'll have to wait and see. But overall, phenomenal series, falls the Mets' way. Brewers, man, they can't catch a break. They haven't won a playoff series since 2018, I believe. And I mean, they've been in the playoffs. They were in the playoffs in 19. They were in the playoffs in 2020, 2021, 2023. So the Brewers have been in some playoffs, and they just can't find a way to win a series here. Tough luck once again for Milwaukee. I'm sure they'll be back, but yeah, it's unfortunate how it keeps happening, but the Mets, man, they got magic. They got stuff going on right now. So New York heads on to the NLDS. Great series. Last series to talk about, we got the Braves and the Padres. So let's get into these last series here. Game 1, it's Smith Scheuer versus Michael King. That's right, the Braves beaten up a little bit. No Sale. Max Reed, you pitch him on Game 2, get him full rest here. Ronaldo Lopez, he pitched 2 of those games in against Atlanta. So against the Mets, excuse me. So tough stuff going on for the Braves right now. Their season's been injured full. No Acuna, no Strider, no Riley. Guys have gone up and gone down from time to time, and they're a beaten up team here, and they go against a tough team in the San Diego Padres. And Fernando Tatis wastes no time. He hits the first home run of the postseason, the only home run hit in the game ones of the Wildcard series. He gives the Padres a quick 2-0 lead. Kyle Higashioka gets the other 2 RBIs in this game, one on a sac fly in the second, and the other one in the bottom of the 8th, a solo shot from Higgy. That gives them an insurance run. Michael King was dominant on the bump. He punches out 12 batters, no walks, and only 5 hits through 7. He was a big difference in this game. Padres take it 4-0, the final there. So a must-win game for Atlanta. They send out Max Fried in potentially his last start as a Brave to go up against Mr. San Diego himself, Joe Musgrove. The Braves, with their backs against the wall, would need some runs in this game, and they get things started thanks to Ozuna with a sac fly, but that would not be enough, and that was definitely the case in the second inning, because here comes the Padres. Kyle Higashioka again, a solo shot that starts a big Padre inning. Later on, it's a 2-run double from Manny Machado, and that inning was capped off by a 2-run triple from Jackson Merrill, the rookie. 5-run inning for the Padres, and that puts the Braves on their backs in this one. In the 5th now, the Braves get a run back. It's a solo shot from Jorge Soler, and in the 8th, they really made it a game. Michael Harris the second, a 2-run home run. It's a 1-run game. Here comes Atlanta, the Atlanta we've seen for years now. They enter the 9th. They need one more run, but they run into Robert Suarez, who makes quick work of the Braves and sends the Padres to the NLDS to take on the Dodgers. Boy, oh boy, what a second game. The Braves almost came back and forced the game 3. Unfortunately, they do not. And I don't fault Atlanta. The fact that they were even in the postseason goes to show you the resilience of that team, how they had guys, come up and be heroes when they need the most, or at least attempt to help them and get to where they are. I think the D-backs would have done a better job in this series. I would have loved to see Arizona over Atlanta, because, Atlanta, although had still a good team and there were still good pieces, there was no Acuna, there was no Strider, there was no Riley, and those are 3 of their top 5 players realistically, and you want those guys. That's how your team is gonna be better. So next season, I'm hoping to have those guys back, and I'm hoping Atlanta wins the division again, kind of goes back to being that juggernaut NL East team that we've seen for so long. But this year was just injured Phil. You just didn't really have hope when you look at their prior seasons and then look at this season. It just was a tough one, and a tough wall to climb if you were Atlanta. But listen, San Diego, man, they looked great. Michael King, phenomenal. Joe Musgrove was good. The bullpen, Robert Suarez was nice. Jason Adam had some struggles. Tanner Scott was brilliant in his only appearance. Jeremiah Estrada got 2 important outs. So, the bullpen was there. The Padres looked good. The offense was great. Kyle Higashioka, 2 home runs. Fernando Tatis, a home run. Some teams didn't even hit a home run, and they combined for 3. Kyle Higashioka and Jackson Churio, the only 2 guys with 2 home runs in these wildcard series. And, who would have had those 2 names at the top of the home run charts there. But, everyone was great. Jackson Merrill, 2 important RBIs there. Machado, 2 important RBIs. Cronenworth 0 for 6, Xander Bogaerts 0 for 7. So there were some players who still needed to hold their own, but in every aspect, the Padres were the better team, and they kind of won this series with no issue. They looked good. They didn't look great, and when you think of the Padres and kind of what you expect out of San Diego, I don't know, I was expecting more from them, to say the least. Not to say that the Braves were so much of a worse team than them, but, the 1-run game, the 4-run game, the Padres looked good, But now you're going up against the Dodgers. You need to be great. You want to get guys rolling early. You had some guys. Tatis was 4 for 6. He's heading to LA Stadium. He loves Dodger Stadium. He hits well there, and he's batting .667 in the postseason here. Kyle Higashioka 2 for 5. You want your bottom of the lap to get going. That's what he was in this series. Luis Arias 3 for 9. That's good. Let's get those numbers up. The contact guy, let's get him on base. Jackson Merrill, great. So the Padres had nice pieces. Pitching was no worries, of course. And like I said, using King and Musgrove and only needing those 2 games. Now you have Dylan Cease, you have Yu Darvish, and then you bring back Michael King and Joe Musgrove. So the Padres do set themselves up nicely for the Dodgers. We'll talk about that. But yeah, overall, another great series. Wildcard series, 9 games in the books. Great baseball had by all. Taking a look at some outstanding performances, I guess, just to top it off here. Headlined really by Tarek Skubal, 6 innings pitched, 4 hits, no earned runs, a walk, and 6 Ks. Corbin Burns was brilliant, 8 innings pitched, 5 hits, an earned run, a walk, and 3 Ks. Cole Reagan, 6 innings pitched, 4 hits, no earned runs, no walks, 8 Ks. Hunter Brown, 5 2/3 innings pitched, 2 hits, 1 earned run, 2 walks, and 9 strikeouts. The brilliance of Michael King, probably the performance of the Wild Card series. 7 innings pitched, 5 hits, no earned runs, no walks, and 12 strikeouts. Brilliant from Michael King. And then Jose Quintana, when the Mets needed him most, stepped up. 6 innings pitched, 4 hits, no earned runs, a walk, and 5 strikeouts. Alrighty now, so that does it for the Wild Card series. We take a look at all those and some great baseball, as mentioned. And we're only getting started here for the postseason, and that's what baseball is so great, because now there's 4 more great series to happen, and they're no longer just 3-game series. It's a 5-game set. You need 3 to win. Let's start talking about these games and these series coming up for all of you guys to enjoy this week, essentially. Starting off with the Tigers and the Guardians. And one thing I'll mention before I even talk about Tigers and Guardians, if you call it a division series, 3 of the 4 DSs are actually like division series, like Guardians, Tigers, AL Central, Mets, Phillies, NL East, Dodgers, Padres, NL West. Those are going to be great series to watch. And of course, Royals and Yankees will be a good one as well. So let's talk about it. Tigers and Guardians. So the season series favors Cleveland by a game. Of course, they played 13 because they're in the division. 7 wins for Cleveland, 6 wins for the Tigers. They last played in the end of July, so it has been a while. Taking a look at the probables for the first couple of games here, you got the TBD versus Tanner Bybee for the Guardians, and then game 2, TBD versus TBD. So we only know Tanner Bybee going for the Guardians tomorrow. Tigers, I'm sure, will just go through some crazy, bullpen help guys, and just whoever needs to be at certain points in the game, that's what they'll come in. AJ Hinch will manage it properly. Obviously expect Skubal at some point in this series, potentially game 2, maybe game 3. If you're looking to watch these games, Saturday, Monday, Wednesday are the first 3-game series there. And then if game 4 and game 5 is needed, that'd be on Thursday, and then it finishes on Saturday. So keep that in mind if you're trying to watch any of those games. The Tigers' magic, they have gotten them this far. How far can it go? The Guardians have led the AL Central for the whole year pretty much. And, you had this whole point of, will it be the Royals? Will it be the Twins? These 2 teams gaining. Guardians hold off to get the Central, but now no more Twins. And you have now the Tigers to worry about. And 7-6 is pretty tight between those 2 teams. They haven't played in a while, so I think it'll be interesting to see kind of what happens with the Tigers. Guardians' playoff history recently hasn't been the greatest. So, I think this series can be a lot closer than people might originally think. And I think now that the Astros have been defeated by the Tigers, and the Tigers have kind of shown them what they can do, you got to say, hey, I'd be worried right now if I'm going to play Detroit. Take a look at the injuries for the Guardians. Of course, no Shane Bieber. Alex Cobb isn't available. James Karinchuk, maybe, maybe not. I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing given his history in the postseason. Taking a look at Cleveland's team here, Bo Naylor behind the dish, Josh Naylor at first base. The brothers from Canada will kind of start off the Guardians team here. Andres Jimenez at second. The star, almost 40-40 season, Jose Ramirez at third. That's the guy right for me. Brian Rocchio at shortstop. The outfield consists of Stephen Kwan, Lane Thomas, and Will Brennan. DH, Kyle Manzardo, and some other important names, David Fry, John Kelsey Noel, and Daniel Schneemann. So the Guardians are built up on teams as well. They do kind of have that style of play like the Tigers, where it's like, we'll pinch hit for you when needed, you know, DHing depending on the starters. I'm sure Kyle Manzardo is not starting the day Tarek Skubal's in the lineup, but I mean, the Guardians can be fluky as well, very kind of in the works of a small market kind of like team, I guess, or just like small ball. But some of these guys need to get going. Stephen Kwan kind of ended the season cold. Andres Jimenez kind of cold. Josh Naylor kind of cold. So you kind of want to get those guys going up, get them up and hot early in the series. Stephen Vogt did a great job managing this Guardians team, and I mean, he deserves all the credit in the world, and depending on how far they go, I would love to see Stephen Vogt kind of take this team far and maybe even win a World Series in his first year as a manager, so that would be pretty cool there. But yeah, overall, this series is going to be a good one, and you love those like division series. Those ones are extremely fun. Royals and Yankees now. Let's get talking about them. Well, I guess we didn't mention the Cleveland bullpen here. Let me do a quick backup here, going off the bullpen as well, because you got Emmanuel Clase, who is just going to be dominant in the back end there. The rotation as well. We talked about Tanner Bybee getting the start for Game 1. Who's going Game 2? Will it be Matthew Boyd? Will it be Gavin Williams? Ben Lively? So there's options there. The Cleveland bullpen is probably one of the best bullpens, as per mentioned, Emmanuel Clase, but a bunch of the guys have had great seasons. Cade Smith, Nick Sandlin, Tim Hurton, Eli Morgan, and the list goes on and on. So, I mean, the Guardians are built up for a good run here. All right, now let's get into Royals and Yankees here, because, you know, the Yankees have been waiting for this. They've got their guy. They got Soto. They have kind of the pieces they need for a good postseason run here. And their first challenge is against a Kansas City Royal team. In the season series, the Yankees have won 5 of the 7 matchups, 2 of them by 2 wins for the Royals. They last played early September, and I gotta tell you, the series kind of entices me a little bit more than you would think. Game 1 starters on Saturday, Michael Wacha versus Garrett Cole. Game 2 on Monday, it's going to be Cole Ragans versus Carlos Rodon. And then Game 3 Wednesday. And then if needed, Games 4 and 5 Thursday and Saturday as well. As I mentioned, the Royals offense has been kind of slow and just not kind of really lackluster. But they did beat an AL East team already in Baltimore, and they didn't really have offense there. So can they pitch around the Yankees? Can they pitch around guys like Judge and everything? That would be the key for the Royals here. I saw a graphic the other day, Aaron Judge against Michael Wacha, Cole Ragans, and Seth Lugo. Combined in his career, he's like 1 for 24, 1 for 26, like it was something like that. Only 1 hit, and he had like 14 strikeouts against the Royal Stars here. So that kind of favors KC, but of course in the postseason, what matters is the then and now. And, you know, I'm guessing those numbers aren't going to be in the back of Judge's mind at all. Just something to think about here, because, of course, there is other guys on that Yankee team. They do not have DJ LeMahieu. They do not have Jonathan Loaizaga. They do not have Nestor Cortez. But they do have their power trio. They got plenty of guys throughout this lineup that can mash. Behind the dish, the catcher, the rookie, Austin Wells. At first base, Anthony Rizzo. Gleyber Torres is at second. He's kind of had a turnaround season. Good for him. Jazz Chisholm listed as the third baseman. Anthony Volpe, the shortstop. The outfield is scary. The young Martian, Jason Dominguez. Aaron Judge and Juan Soto, of course, potential MVP winner and MVP top 3 finisher. And then, of course, Giancarlo Stanton, the DH. They've got plenty of options for the bench as well. Who will make it, who will not. Jose Trevino, Alex Verdugo, Trent Grisham, Oswaldo Cabrera, John Birdie, and the rookie who's had some clutch home runs, Ben Rice, as well. So plenty of options for them. We'll see the rosters, of course, tomorrow. Obviously, I'm just going off of speculations, but the Yankees are a good team, and they're here, and they're ready for it. They want to win. Houston's already out of the way, so I mean they're thinking that it's lined up. And realistically, you've got 3 teams from the AL Central and the New York Yankees. And based off of history, based off of the way things going, this should be the year the Yankees finally get back to the World Series. It's up to them, though. That's the key thing. And realistically, it's up to their starters and their pitching. Of course, Cole and Rodon, kind of the 1-2 there. They got guys, Luis Hill, Clark Schmidt, Marcus Stroman, who goes, who doesn't. The bullpen is what worries me about the Yankees. I wouldn't be surprised to see some royal comebacks, potentially. Luke Weaver's been good since getting the closing gig. Can that continue? And can he even get to Luke Weaver with a lead? Because you got to go through guys like Tommy Kahnle, Clay Holmes, Tim Hill. They've been good, but they've been giving up late home runs. They've been giving up runs in their innings. How does that look? Of course, guys like Ian Hamilton, Mark Leiter Jr., Tim Meza. So there's plenty of pitchers that the Yankees have, but just guys who have struggled, guys who haven't been as clutch as I think the Yankees have wanted. The bullpen doesn't worry me, or it worries me a little bit, but I mean, they have the names that have done it before. There's postseason experience throughout this lineup. Now it's a matter of, you have the Royals, you have these AL Central teams. Can you guys put it together and show up when you need it most? And game 1's going to be very telling. If Garrett Cole comes out and gives up a home run like he's been known to do from time to time, not really the start you want if you are a Yankees fan here. So if the Royals can take out game 1, I think that's a huge thing to really mention and note going forward here. So keep an eye on this series, but it should be easy for the Yankees. Should being the keyword there. Moving on now, let's get into Mets and Phillies. What a series this could turn out to be. The season series favors the Phillies. 7 wins for them, 6 wins for the Mets out of the 13. They played 7 games in mid-September, so they have seen each other recently. Of course, also they played in the London series a little bit earlier in the year. We got TBD versus Zach Wheeler, and then TBD versus TBD for the first couple of games here. The NLDS schedule goes as followed: Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday for games 1, 2, and 3, and then if necessary, game 4 on Wednesday, game 5 on Friday. The Mets magic is alive. Oh my God. Jose Iglesias music has been hyping them up. Grimace has been around. The Hawk Tour girl. Everything has popping up Mets. They're up for a magical postseason run. And for the Phillies, they do not need to brave this up, because it's getting very Brave-like, dominant NL East team with a rival coming up against them, and they lose. The Braves have done that before with the Phillies. 2 NLDSs, the Braves, the better team. Phillies with some magic on their side, some energy, and they get through Atlanta. Now you have another way around where now it's the Phillies who are kind of in Atlanta spot, and the Mets are kind of like the Phillies. Fun guys are all coming up. They're all got each other's backs. There's stuff happening in Queens right now. So, I mean, you just can't be like the Braves. You got to show up. And, I mean, the Phillies are kind of my pick for the World Series. I kind of like this team a lot, and they look good. JT Realmuto at catcher, Bryce Harper first base, second base is Bryson Stott, Alec Bohm at third, Trey Turner at short. The outfield, Austin Hayes, Brandon Marsh, Nick Castellanos, Kyle Schwarber is your designated hitter. They got guys, Edmundo Sosa, Johan Rojas, Cody Clemens. The list goes on for these Phillies. And, I mean, the pitching is no problem. Of course, we it's Zach Wheeler and TBD. I'm assuming it's going to be Aaron Nola. They got Christopher Sanchez, who had a breakout year. Ranger Schwartz has been a postseason hero for the Phillies in the past, coming through with some clutch games. So there's plenty of options here for the Phillies, and that bullpen is just dominant. Carlos Estevez from the Angels has been great since coming over. Jeff Hoffman's been great. Matt Strom, Jose Alvarado, the list goes on and on. I mean, there's guys for the Phillies for days, and I mean, this is a series kind of like Yankees where it's like you should win it, but it probably won't be as easy as you think. If I was Philly here, of course, we've had now, this is the third season, we've had the, changed up format for the postseason where that first game is important. We talked about the Wildcard series. If you win game 1 of the Wildcard series since 2022, you move on. That's been the rule. Nobody has won or has lost game 1 and then won game 2 and 3 to move on. That hasn't happened yet. And we've seen teams complain about having the extra bye week off, and not having the proper rhythm and routine. We've seen it before with like the Dodgers last year. They got swept by the D-backs. The Braves getting swept by the Phillies, and just like tough for the division winners, for the 1 seed, for the 2 seeds to kind of get going and get their foot off the ground early. So, I mean, and especially now with this year that we've had, I mean, not a single team with 100 wins. It's as close as things have ever been. So, I mean, if you think any of these series are like, oh, this is cakewalk, this is easy, you are highly mistaken. And I mean, this is going to be another great series. There's going to be some great baseball coming up this week. And I mean, that only takes us to kind of what is the series to watch and the best division series. The San Diego Padres and the Los Angeles Dodgers. This is going to be fun. And I mean fun. There is nothing I would rather watch more. My nights are going to be glued to the TV for these two games. Two teams, excuse me. The season series favors San Diego, 8 wins to the Dodgers, 5. They played the first games of 2024 in the Seoul series. They ended in the end of September. The last 3 games they played was the second last series, just 2 weeks ago. So Padres and Dodgers have seen each other. The rivalry is hot right now, and expect some great baseball. The Game 1 starters, Dylan Cease up against Yoshinobu Yamamoto, and then Game 2, it's going to be Yu Darvish versus Jack Flaherty. Of course, the NLDS schedule, as again mentioned, Saturday, Sunday, and Tuesday for Games 1, 2, and 3. Wednesday is Game 4 potentially, and Friday is Game 5 potentially if those games are needed. This is kind of giving me back to like the 2022 postseason. The Padres, they won their wild card series. They made it to the Dodgers in the NLDS, and they took it to them and moved on to the NLCS, where they eventually lost to the Phillies. So the 2022 postseason is kind of like what I'm thinking of right now. These two teams meeting again once again in the NLDS. The Dodgers beat them in 2020, if I believe that's the right year in the COVID year. I believe they played each other, and Dodgers got round 1, Padres got round 2, and here comes round 3 in the last couple of years of these two teams meeting in the postseason. The Dodgers pitching is brutally injured. No Kershaw, no Brusar Gretterol, no Dustin May, no Tony Gonsolin, no Emmett Sheehan, no Tyler Glasnow, no Gavin Stone. Oh boy, I almost lose out of breath going through like all the notable names that are not going to be with Dodgers for this postseason. Maybe 1 or 2 of these guys could come back potentially if they go far enough, but I'm assuming these guys will not be around for the NLDS unless there's something that we're missing here. But the postseason team is here, and the difference, I guess, between now and 2022 is that the Dodgers have Ohtani. He's the designated hitter, and he's going to mash the baseball. Will Smith at catcher, Freddie Freeman at first, Gavin Lux at second, Max Muncy at third, Miguel Rojas at shortstop, Teoscar Hernandez, Tommy Edman, and Mookie Betts makes up the outfield. And then, of course, notable names, Chris Taylor, Kiki Hernandez, Kevin Kiermaier, James Outman, Andy Pajes. So the Dodgers have some great pieces. They have a great team, but so do the Padres. I mean, all 4 of these series are going to be great baseball games to watch, but there's nothing that's going to be better than the Padres and the D-backs. Last thing to mention really quickly for, I guess, the episode here. In all of the Mets and Brewers craziness in yesterday's Game 3 game, Terry Francona signed with the Reds. to manage their team next season, which is crazy. You know, he's like, yeah, 1 year of retirement's good enough for me. I'm back, baby. And you know, he was manager for Cleveland and based in Ohio, and now you have Stephen Vogt, who did a great job. Maybe he got jealous. It was like, let me take over the other Ohio team. So of course, David Bell was fired before the end of the regular season, and now you got Terry Francona, which, I mean, I'd be worried, NL Central teams, because I think the Reds are going to have a great season next year. But I just wanted to mention that quickly. Of course, we're not talking about next year. We're talking about this year's postseason, and that is how we wrap things up here. Another long episode. Hopefully these episodes will start to shrink as there's less and less baseball happening, but still 4 series to go over, and the AL and NLDSs are going to be here, and they're going to be great. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, thank you everybody so much for listening, and enjoy some more postseason baseball. We'll be back on Monday with the first 2 games of the NLDS and the first game of the ALDS, as well as the player of the month from September from the regular season, which is essentially the last thing we'll have to talk about when it comes to the regular season. And then it's going to be postseason heavy from here on out. So yes, thank you everybody so much, and I will see you on Monday.